Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our info session tonight. And we are blessed to have our guest here tonight with us. My name is Glenn Elie, and in behalf of the members and board of directors and officers of the Philippine Business Society of Alberta, we would like to welcome you to our info session tonight. And mabuhay sa inyong lahat. Some good news here. So what we've learned is that Alberta is leading in terms of the economic relaunch, and they said that 47% of businesses in Alberta are now open. So we're leading the country on that. So some good news there. And tonight we're going to hear from our speakers, and it's going to be for great information, but at the same time very engaging, because as a business community, we'll be here to help one another and engage the government as well. And we're thankful for all the benefits and the support that they have provided so far. So we're going to talk about the commercial rent relief program that has been launched, and people are availing it, and at the same time, our economic relaunch. So to get things started, I would like to call on Ms. Beng Agasino, who owns a bakery at the South Side, to lead our prayer.
Okay, let's close our eyes and bow down our heads. Dear God, bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. We are of diverse opinion here, yet we wish to mend our differences and reach agreement satisfactory to all. Please guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thoughts, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being with us, and please guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Beng Agasino. Again, they own the A4 Oriental store at the South Side. And to welcome all our guest officers and our guest for tonight, I would like to call on Mr. Arnel Zabala, who owns Manila Sweet Bakery at the west side of the city.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to this our PBSA town hall meeting. It's going to be a good and interesting topic. We're going to learn tonight, and I'm still at work, so I guess some of you are. Welcome also our officers, our president, Mr. Bayani Alcantara, our Vice President, Ms. Virginia Tumalinog, and our Secretary is not here yet, Pia, and our Treasurer, Loida Lumanlan. So welcome. We have some special guests, of course, and it'll be introduced later. And just sit back and relax and learn. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arnel. And I would like to call on the first person to introduce our speaker. I know that we only have 1 hour today, so we want to make sure that we go straight right away to the information. And at the same time, we'll allot more time in terms of question and answer. So if you have any questions, as our speakers go through their part, make sure you take note of that. Marjorie Carmona Newman will be moderating the Q&A here. And our guest speakers will be given 10 minutes to share any introduction or any information they can share. If they have any presentations as well, feel free. Mr. Tim, I have your presentation here, so I will be your clicker for tonight, okay? So I would like to call on Ms. Lexmila Serrano. She's also a business owner. She owns a Filipino grocery store along 23rd Avenue there. And if you happen to pass by 3J, you'll get to see or visit one of the popular places in the Philippines, so Quiapo, Divisoria. So to welcome and introduce MP Team Opal, we have Miss Lexmila Serrano. Just give me a sec. We need to unmute you. Give me 1 second. Okay, there you go.
All right. The Honorable Tim Upal is a member of the Parliament for Edmonton Millwoods, Alberta. Prior to politics, he used to be the residential mortgage manager for a bank and is a senior advisor for the Conservative Party of Alberta. So during those times, he was also the producer of a show here in CKER Edmonton, had been a founder of this Edmonton South Group, and also has been an advisor member for the Edmonton Police Community Advisory Council. Now, he was born in British Columbia and was raised here in Edmonton, and of course, originally from Punjab, India. Enjoying with him in Edmonton is his wife and the three children. And of course, now he was then an MP for the Edmonton Sherwood Park, and he was appointed the Minister of State for the Democratic Reform. Now he has, of course, a wide range of experience as the Minister of State for Multiculturalism and a member of a Standing Committee for Citizenship and Immigration, Standing Committee for the Health, and Standing Committee for the Canadian Heritage. As far as the current positions are concerned, our dear Honorable Upal is serving in several committees to include the COVID Special Committee with that COVID-19 pandemic. And most importantly, he is the PACP Standing Committee on Public Accounts. So ladies and gentlemen, we have our Honorable Tim Upal.
Hello, and thank you for that lovely introduction. Hello, everybody. It is great to join you all. Minister Fear, great to be on with you and be here with a number of friends. So this is great. I really want to thank you for organizing this. This is a great initiative, a great way for us to be able to connect, even though we're not being able to do that in person. This would normally be a town hall that we can, a large gathering that we'd be able to do somewhere. But now this is probably the next best thing that we used to for some time. First of all, I do want to just acknowledge that for you all, part of this Philippine Business Society that are working so hard to get your business back up and running. This situation that we're in is something that not only unprecedented, but is just something that I don't think anybody really predicted to the extent that this would affect us, not only in a health way, but definitely also in a business way as well. And I think besides the health concerns, business concerns is very, very significant. But we want to be able to be in a position to help as much as possible. My office has been fielding unlimited number of calls from people right across the city, and especially in my riding of Edmonton Mill Woods. First, it was a lot of personal people trying to apply for their own support, but now also for their business that it's getting going. How do they get that support? So, and we want to make sure that we're there for you. So if you do have any questions after this, please get in touch with us. We have staff that have been working on this and helping businesses through this time. And we really hope that you're able to get through this, that this is a very difficult time, but we're all hoping that you're able to tough it out. I know it's not going to be easy, and I'm already hearing from businesses who they themselves as the business may not survive, but also I'm very concerned about people's own kind of personal emotional state, that it's a lot of stress. They're dealing with stress on a health side, they're dealing with it with family wise, and also those that have young children, they're also now the teachers and trying to teach their kids. We have 3 kids ourselves, one of them special needs child. So we're constantly trying to juggle that as well, and our own roles. So I fully understand what many of you are going through. As for today's discussion, was asked to discuss, we'll start with the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. And this is really a program put in place by the government to help businesses, to be able to pay the rent. Essentially, obviously, landlords want their rent in one way or another. They also have payments to make because many landlords have borrowed money to be able to purchase those strip malls or the office buildings, and so there's got to be some way that they're also compensated in a way so they can make their payments, but also for the small businesses. And so this is a program that's been put forward. I will say that we as an opposition have asked for some changes to be made, but we'll discuss that in just a few minutes. So we'll just go on to the next slide here. I think what I did with the slide was to kind of discuss in general about a lot of the support that is available to businesses. So the wage subsidy, we could discuss that, the extending the work sharing program, not being used as much, but the wage subsidy for sure is something that I think a number of businesses are using. Go to the next one. Next slide. The business credit availability program, that's for larger businesses, but this Canada Emergency Business Account, I think many of you may have applied for that. That's the $40,000 loan. First, you needed a payroll of 50,000. We really pushed back on that, and Canadians pushed back, saying a lot of businesses don't have 50,000 payroll. So then it dropped down to 20,000, which was good. It helped a lot of businesses. But still, there was still so many businesses that weren't able to get the $40,000 loan. And then just recently, and we as the opposition were pushing back that it needs to be more flexible. And just recently, it is now beyond, if you don't have $20,000 of payroll, you can still get it if you have expenses from 2019 that you could show. So it's become more flexible, and we're pleased that the government has considered those people that don't qualify for that. And now we're on to the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance, where 75% of that loan can be provided to you. So 25% of it is something that the renter would have to pay in. 25% the landlord pays in, and this is an issue because I know some landlords already do not wish to put in the 25%. And then 50% is what the government is working with the landlords on. So this is for impacted small businesses that are paying less than $50,000 a month in rent. So for small to medium-sized businesses, anything larger than that, there's other programs available to them. And also to have temporarily ceased operations. So you've completely ceased operations because of COVID, or that your business has experienced at least a 70% drop in business because of COVID. This is how you can become eligible for this. And it's also available to nonprofit and charitable organizations. Now, one of the concerns that we've been hearing is that this really does depend on the landlord making the decision to apply for it. And there are a number of landlords we're hearing in the media, and I'm hearing it from in my office, of landlords who have decided not to apply for it because they're going to take a 25% hit. And some landlords may not qualify because they don't have a mortgage. This is only for landlords who have a mortgage. Now, most landlords obviously would have a mortgage on that building, but there are some that don't. So this is something that we have been already raising with the government, that we need to make it more flexible and possibly have it so then the renters themselves are getting that direct support rather than going through the landlord, especially if landlords are not willing to apply, then the renters should have the ability to have something. But I'll leave it at that for now, so we can have that discussion, and open up to questions. But again, thank you very much for organizing. I think this discussion, I think it's very important, and hopefully will be very helpful to many of you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Team Uppal, and we appreciate your feedback here. Let me see. Okay, I've unshared the screen now. For the next part, so we'll, if you have any questions, again, please take note of those. We'll have a Q&A. So we're going to hear from our next guest here. So I would like to call on LV Fermenchua. So she's also a business owner. She's a producer. She has very talented children. And last year she produced shows featuring Filipino artists, and at the same time, she's a licensed insurance agent with World Financial Group Southside. So LV.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Our next guest speaker is our Minister of Economic Development, Trade, and Tourism, Honorable Tanya Per. She was born in Cranbrook, moved to Calgary in 1985. She earned a Bachelor of Commerce with major in Management of Organizations and Human Resource from University of Calgary. She worked as Human Resource Advisor in Alberta's oil and gas industry for more than 19 years. She was elected to the Legislative Assembly of Alberta on April 16, 2019 as the MLA for Calgary-Pigan. And she was also appointed Minister of Economic Development, Trade, and Tourism on April 30th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me on welcoming Honorable Tanya Fair.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Tim, I didn't know, Tim, you were born in BC, so was I. We share that in common. I also would like to welcome on the line, I've got one of my assistant deputy ministers, Michelle Evans, on the line as well. I don't pretend that I know all the answers, so between Tim and I, if we can't, I'm sure Tim knows all the answers, but if there's anything directed to me I can't answer, Michelle is my life savior. She always helps me out. So I just got some prepared notes. If that's okay, I'll go through them. So I would like to thank the Philippine Business Society of Alberta for inviting me to be a part of tonight's event. These past weeks, I have participated in many virtual meetings like this one, and it's always a privilege to be invited. So thank you to your organization. This allows me to speak with you directly about the actions our government is taking to support businesses and entrepreneurs who are the backbone of our economy. For many years, Alberta's Filipino community has enriched our province's social and economic vitality. Alberta is home to Canada's second largest Filipino population after Ontario, and our province has been a top choice destination in Canada for those seeking new economic opportunities. However, as we come together today, we are facing unprecedented circumstances as Albertans, as Canadians, and as members of the global community. No one could have anticipated the devastating consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, the resulting global shutdowns, and the energy price crash which now jeopardize our economy. While our first priority is protecting the health of Albertans, we cannot ignore that our economic downturn is also having a real impact on the health and well-being of Albertans. Alberta industries and businesses have been hit hard across all sectors of the economy. In fact, many businesses are wondering whether they'll even be able to remain afloat or reopen as time marches forward. We are entering into stage one of Alberta's relaunch, which I believe has provided some assurances to many of you, but I also recognize that many businesses, including those that are unable to open in this phase, are still facing uncertainty. That's why over the past few months, we have been working closely with the federal government to do all we can to stop the pandemic and provide relief now so that we can continue with our phased economic relaunch and pave a path to recovery. Over the past few weeks, we've introduced a number of measures to provide immediate relief to businesses and industry across Alberta as they grapple with the effects of COVID-19. While most sectors are affected to some extent, we recognize that many businesses are facing unique challenges. They are experiencing lower revenues and liquidity constraints, and they are taking on more debt. That's why we are taking significant steps to help Alberta businesses get the relief and support they need now so that they can weather the storm and be better positioned for recovery as we continue our phased approach to open our economy in the days, weeks, and months ahead. So just to go through briefly some of the measures our government has taken so far, we've deferred the Workers' Compensation Board premium payment for all private sector businesses and rolled out 50% payment of WCB premiums for small and medium-sized businesses. We've frozen education property taxes at 2019 levels and provided businesses with a 6-month education property tax deferral. We've deferred corporate income tax payments to August 31st, interest-free. We've introduced a 90-day utility payment relief, and we've provided a 2-month filing deadline extension for annual returns with Alberta Corporate Registry. We also just recently announced that we abated the tourism levy for hotels and other lodging providers that will allow them to keep the tourism levy amounts collected between March 1st and December 31st, which gives them that ability to keep that much needed cash in their pockets. ATB Financial is offering a customer relief program by providing customer deferrals on loans, lines of credit, and mortgages for up to 6 months. And last month, we also introduced that Alberta has joined other provinces, the territories, and federal government in a program to help small businesses pay rent. As Tim talked about, the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program will help give certainty to small businesses and relieve some of the financial stress businesses are facing. The program, as you likely know, will be administered through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And I believe the applications will start being collected on the CMHC website beginning on May 25th. And application documents can be accessed now. As a province, and I know that'll probably be some of the conversations we have tonight, as Tim mentioned, at the federal level, on the provincial level as well, we have heard a lot of concerns that people have had with this program, and I can assure you, Minister Taves, our provincial Minister of Finance and President of Treasury Board, is sharing those concerns with his federal counterparts, and I know Tim is advocating for businesses as well, so I look forward to that part of our conversation tonight, but I'll just carry on here. As a province, we're also launching an online survey to help us learn more about the volume and scope of commercial rent issues businesses and landlords are facing. The survey will allow us to gauge the types and situations businesses and landlords are experiencing, how many are affected, and whether they have been able to access available supports. Submitted responses will be taken under advisement as we build on our plan to support Albertans and Alberta businesses during this pandemic. You'll be able to find that survey on the alberta.ca/BizConnect webpage, which I'll talk about more in a minute. We will continue to work with our federal government counterparts to try to fill any gaps. We know it's critical that small businesses are able to access these programs. We know small businesses are the backbone of our economy and the heartbeat of our province. So through Business Link, we're also providing a one-stop shop to ensure businesses are well connected to new relief and recovery supports. And Business Link can connect you to resources across all levels of government and the province's small business network. As businesses reopen, Alberta is ensuring they have the information they need to operate through the pandemic to get people back to work safely and to begin rebuilding the economy. Last week, we launched the online resource alberta.ca/BizConnect. This online resource has the latest information on health and safety guidelines for general workplaces and sector-specific guidelines for those able to open in stage 1 of our relaunch plan. It will be up to each business operator to determine if they are ready to open and make certain all guidance is in line with public health orders for their community. Our objective is to ensure businesses can reopen safely during the pandemic. I encourage you to use this online resource. It is a reliable source of information. Updates will occur regularly as things change, especially when we go forward with new phases of our relaunch plan. Just today, Premier Kenney announced that for Calgary and Brooks, as of May 25th, they'll be able to go ahead and open hair salons, barbershops, and restaurants and bars at 50% capacity. Together, we can successfully move forward in a gradual and thoughtful manner. I'd like to emphasize that relaunch phases include an evaluation and monitoring period to determine if restrictions should be adjusted. We're confident that Albertans will approach relaunch with the same adaptability and resilience they have shown throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. So in conclusion, I just want to stress again that our government is committed to working with businesses and industry to ensure Alberta's industry recovers. I know that this is an incredibly challenging time, but we'll get through this together. We want to hear your suggestions and better understand the challenges that you and your industries are facing. We will take these suggestions under advisement as we build on our plan to support Albertans and Alberta businesses as we relaunch our economy. I know that together, we're going to move through the phases of the relaunch with the same determination and commitment to personal and collective responsibility that Albertans have shown over the past several months. Even during the hardest of times, Albertans meet the challenge with hard work and an entrepreneurial spirit. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Tanya. And yeah, Alberta is strong. So thank you. And we made sure we take advantage of the opening of the barbershop so you could see a lot of people had their first haircut a couple of days.
Look
Um,
how long my bangs are.
right now, to for I know there's a lot of questions. You can direct them, and we have Marjorie. I'll be calling her in a few seconds here. But at the same time, you can also use the chat option here, so you can type your questions, and then I'll make sure that myself or Marjorie will be able to read it. So for this part, this is a very engaging discussion, and we're open. We'll open it up to all the questions. So feel free. This is your time to talk directly to our leaders, and we thank our leaders also for their effort. I know you have your own family as well, and you're dealing with many things too, but we appreciate all the things that you've been doing, all the sacrifices you've made at this time. So I'll be calling Marjorie Carmona Newman. She's a registered Canadian immigration consultant, very active in our community, very energetic as well, and she'll be able to address and take care of our question and answer period now.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And just to let our guests know that we, the Filipino community, especially the PBSA, we truly appreciate the efforts of both the federal and provincial government in supporting small business owners like me, like us, have been struggling due to COVID-19. And I would like to thank our resource speakers, the Honorable Team Opal and Minister Tanya for joining us tonight and for all the massive of information you provided us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. So if anybody has a question, please type your question on the chat portal, or you can also ask the question yourself. So to begin, I think this is addressed to Honorable Tim Opal. So what is my option as a tenant if the landlord does not agree or will not participate in CECRA, even if the landlord qualifies to the program?
Very good question, and I know that we've already been getting calls like that, and obviously that's a concern, especially if the tenant feels that the landlord would qualify. I mean, there's a lot behind the scenes. If we think a landlord might qualify, it's very possible they don't for different reasons that we may not know because of their own banking relationship. Whether they have a mortgage or not, and that kind of issue. So, at the end of the day, right now, the way it stands, there isn't much that you can do. This program doesn't have kind of like a backstop or to say, okay, if your landlord doesn't qualify, then what can we do for you? There are other programs in the sense of the $40,000 loan. That's possible. Individuals can, even business owners can still get the CERB, but unfortunately, right now there isn't one. So there isn't anything else you can fall back onto if you don't get this rent subsidy. So we have been pushing the government to do that, and we have been continuously. And this has happened with other programs as well. And I'll give government the credit too, because they've launched programs. We've responded, and Canadians have responded with concerns, and then they've made adjustments. And sometimes they've made 2 or 3 levels of adjustment. So, and I'm hoping in this program, that's what we're looking at, is to be able to get some adjustments made and say that if the landlord doesn't qualify, then there should be something given directly to the tenant.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is addressed to Minister Tanya Fear. With the business in stage 1 reopening, will this impact business owners who plan to avail of CECRA and for some who already availed of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy payments but are still facing shortfall of revenues? Or do you think would it be safer to just remain closed?
So no, I don't think it would avail them. I think it shouldn't affect them. And again, if they would still be eligible, and we're encouraging businesses to open when they feel ready. I mean, we've got these stage 1, stage 2. It doesn't mean that businesses are required to open at that time. We want them to open when they feel ready. And I believe that they are still eligible for these programs, even if they've reopened.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Our next question is addressed to Honorable Team Opal. What do I do if I desperately need rent relief at this time and I can't get it because my landlord is not going to use CECRA and I don't meet the 70% revenue reduction threshold? I think this is related to the previous question, don't you think?
It is related to the previous question,
Yeah,
and
okay.
unfortunately, there just isn't anything right now. There are some programs that you can possibly get a different type of loan through Business Development Bank of Canada, but again, those are difficult. We've been hearing from businesses that they haven't been able to be qualified for this loan. So again, right now there isn't anything for that rent relief if you don't qualify, or if your landlord doesn't qualify or refuses to even apply, because it is going to cost them 25%.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Next question would be for Minister Fair. We have members oh, who operates personal services businesses, and they are unsure how to follow physical distancing requirements. It would be appreciated, I think this is more of a proposal than a question, if the provincial government will provide specific guidelines to guide us how to operate safely. Or maybe this is already on your website.
Yeah, thanks for that, Marjorie. And it's nice to see you, Marjorie. So yes, the BizConnect website does include not only sector-specific guidelines, but also general guidelines that apply to all businesses. And that's BizConnect with a Z. So BizConnect, alberta.ca/BizConnect provides sector-specific guidelines, general guidelines, frequently asked questions, which is updated regularly, and also a link where businesses can also submit a specific question that maybe hasn't been answered. So it's a great tool, great resource for businesses.
Okay, thank you very much. So I might have to find that and share it to the members later. Thank you. We have a question here. For CEBA, if he owns 5 businesses with 5 different locations under one company name or entity, how can the other 4 locations avail of the CEBA?
Tim, can I let you take that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the business. Even at the end of the day, it's based on the company itself. So you wouldn't be able to get, even if you have 4 locations, to have 4 different loans for each one. So it's based on the company. So you cannot get, 40,000 times 4.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification. Another question is, what are the qualifications for a business to be classified as a small business? Is it based on annual revenues?
It's generally considered under, I believe it's 99 employees, so under 100 employees. I don't know if Alberta has any different classification.
I believe that's the same classification we use as well.
Okay. So it's not the revenue, it's number of employees.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's, I believe, what we use is number of employees.
okay. So for a small business, you have to have, like, is it certain number of employees, and for how many would that be?
Up to 100.
For that classification, a small business to be classified as
up
small.
to 100 employees.
Up to so 1 to 100 employees classified
1
as
to
small
99,
business.
and then 100 and
1 to 99,
up
100.
to, I think 500 is considered a medium size.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I think in Alberta it might be revenue based as well. I'm not sure if Michelle, my ADM, Michelle, are you able to jump in to correct me on the provincial side if I'm wrong? Are you there? Oh, I don't think she's able to hear me, but Marjorie, I can follow up with you as well. I know I should know this, but I think on the provincial side there might be a revenue factor as well. So I'll commit to getting back to you guys on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next question. In the commercial rent relief, will the 50% be no repayment? And then follow-up question, what is the basis of the 75% rent reduction? And in the 75% rent reduction, what is the base amount to use? Would it be the gross rent or just the basic rent?
Okay. So my understanding it's the overall gross rent. So it covers all of that. But so the way it works is that it's 50% is, it doesn't have to be paid back. So for the tenant, it's a 75% reduction. So the tenant pays 25%, 50% is the government program, and then 25% is what the landlord is paying. So there is that 50% of it is going to be waived. it's going to be a forgivable loan.
Okay. All right.
And Marjorie, I know that on the chat, my Assistant Deputy Minister Michelle, I believe she posted a link
Yes.
to the BizConnect website, which will also contain some of the information. So just as an added resource.
Okay. So from Attorney Joseph Angeles, he has a question. For business owners who receive dividends, is there a possibility that said dividend be considered as a wage so as to qualify under CEWS? Good question.
So this is for the $40,000 loan?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just have to maybe check what the latest changes. I know if you don't qualify with a $20,000 payroll, there are new conditions now where if you have, so if you don't have $20,000 in payroll, but you have a CRA business account, which most businesses will, if you have filed for your 2018 or 2019 taxes, and if you have non-deferrable expenses of at least $40,000. So non-deferrable expenses are considered your rent, property tax, utilities, or insurance. If you had that in the filings that you've done, then you can still qualify for the $40,000 loan, of which $10,000 of it is
Forgivable.
So it's a very good program. We're just concerned about, so this is one of those ones that has started at $50,000 payroll, then it dropped down to 20,000, and now even beyond 20,000, there's been more flexibility. And I, appreciate from small businesses hearing these concerns, so we're able to ask the government to be more flexible. And I know, businesses have also been reaching out directly that if they're not being able to qualify, that these rules need to be changed to become more flexible. And so that's been happening, and that's good to see. I know there's still businesses who may have just started business early in 2019. They won't qualify right now. I've had a number of businesses, specifically a couple of salons that have met me and have said that, they were starting this year, and they've put in their money, they've built out their location, they bought the chairs, everything, and they just will not qualify. So it's not everybody's qualifying, but a lot of people are now that we've gotten past that $20,000 payroll amount.
Okay, thank you very much. Attorney Joseph just confirmed it's not for the CEBA, but it's for the CEWS, Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy.
Oh, for the wage subsidy, yeah. So
the wage subsidy, like for business owners who receive dividends, is there a possibility that said dividend be considered as a wage so as to qualify under the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy?
No, it's got to be actual wages, and it actually
Actual
the
wages.
have to be given at an arm's length, so it cannot even be within your own family. These have to be wages that are, to actual employees, employees that are arm's length. Even though you may consider hiring somebody in your family, as an employee, but they are for arm's length employees.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this question is addressed to Minister Fair. Will Alberta follow the lead of New York City and San Francisco, putting a cap on third-party delivery companies who are now charging 30% delivery fee from restaurant owners? Right now, New York and San Francisco cap the fee to 15%.
Wow.
Yeah, so just before I answer that, I just want to quickly, just further to Tim's comment on the previous question about another resources, folks should also check out the Western Economic Diversification Regional Relief for support options as well. Marjorie, to the question you just asked, we are aware of that issue. We haven't made a decision on that yet, but it's something we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. The next, I don't think this is a question, but rather a comment, but I will just read this. As business owners, we are happy that the Government of Canada has come up with CECRA. However, it will open on May 25 at 8 a.m. EST, which is kind of late and somewhat a delayed reaction to the struggles of small business owners. Tim, would you like to comment?
First of all, I'll say that we also appreciate the comments. It's not just questions. It's good to get that feedback. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. As things were happening with businesses need support today, right? I mean, they started losing their business back in March. and to wait for May to get some support is difficult. But I also will say that this has all been coming together as governments go. This is happening actually very fast, and with support of the opposition. I know at the federal level, we've been supporting the government in most cases. There's been a lot of negotiation, trying to push them to be as flexible as possible, to help as many people as possible. But support for Canadians in the billions of dollars have actually, hundreds of millions of dollars has actually been passed in one day. And so we'll continue to do that. But I know it's hard for businesses who needed that money, long time ago, and it's slowly coming out. Part of that problem is also designing the program. There really wasn't any program within the government, and I'm sure this is the same thing on the provincial side, that was set up to give out this much money and keep track of it and do all that. So that's also part of the issue here, is just what is the mechanism to be able to do all this.
Thank you. Okay.
Marjorie, Marjorie, can I just jump in? I just want to echo
Of course,
what
yes.
Tim,
Please.
yeah, I just want to echo what Tim said. I also am very much interested in not just your questions, but your comments and feedback as well. So I just want to repeat what Tim said. I'm very curious just on your feedback too. So please continue.
Okay, thank you. So while I have you, this question actually is for Minister Fair. On stage 1, are retailers or gas stations, grocery stores required to wear PPE, or do we require customers to wear a mask? I have a concern in wearing a mask. What if this will be taken advantage by robbers? For gas stations operators and workers, we are at higher risk for robbery and theft. Any comment?
Yeah, so with respect to the guidelines that we've issued, the only mandatory requirements are with respect to physical distancing and size of group gatherings. At this point, for most sectors, wearing masks and personal protective equipment is not required. It's more a recommendation, especially in areas where social distancing is difficult, like mass transit. But in most cases, for most businesses and most retail, it's recommended but not required to wear masks, especially if, as you point out, Marjorie, someone is worried about the risk of crime. We don't want them to have that fear at the expense of safety.
Thank you very much for the clarification. So again, a question for you, sorry. What about hotels and tourism-related businesses? There are many Filipinos working at the hotels and tourism industry. When is the travel restrictions be lifted, and when hotels can accept bookings for travelers here in Alberta?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So we know that our tourism industry was one of the first hit and one of the hardest hit. And we know that I think 98% of our tourism operators are small business owners. I mean, it's one of the biggest sectors that has small businesses. And it's hard for them right now because at this point, travel outside of the province is not yet recommended. Because of course we are following the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we're hopeful that soon enough they'll allow for travel outside the province to other provinces across the country and outside of Canada. But right now, for safety reasons, it's recommended within the province only travel. But we are doing various things that we can to help the tourism sector. For example, just this week, we announced that the tourism levy that's hotel accommodation and operators collect, we are abating that tourism levy from March to December. So what that means is that 4% that accommodation providers and hotels collect, that they normally submit to the provincial government, they're going to get to keep that in their pockets for the period of March to December. Because one of the biggest things we know that small businesses are desperate for right now is cash and liquidity. So this is one of the measures that will help them keep that cash in their pocket. And we are also looking at other options. Travel Alberta is looking at other supports right now for tourism providers. So stay tuned for more information there.
Okay, thank you. So I have this question to Honorable Tim Opal. There will inevitably be landlords who believe that they can extract full payment of rent from their tenants, either by pursuing evictions and legal actions or by threatening to do so. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are going to be landlords who feel that way. We're already hearing from businesses who are saying that my landlord's not giving me any breaks. They want money right now. Concern even on the residential side. It's not just for businesses. As of right now, I know like at the provincial court level, they have stopped any evictions. The province has stepped in and said that there wouldn't be any evictions for residential, and I believe that may affect businesses as well. So no, it doesn't affect businesses. Okay, so it doesn't affect businesses at the provincial level, but so there, I think a lot of that is going to have to be through courts. So if someone's going to try to evict somebody, they have to go through a court system, and the courts aren't taking that right now. So I think that's a little bit of help. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, we're going to see some of this happen. I would only say that landlords, if they're kicking a tenant out, who's going to replace them? Because there's not too many businesses that are trying to start up right now. So it's in the best interest of landlords to work with their tenants who are already established, who already have a business, and to be able to, we're all in this together to be able to work through it. So I think that's probably the best way that this is going to happen. Otherwise, people will probably, you're right, find a way around things if we just say it's a legal issue. I think this is really going to be what's the best way for everybody to be able to make it through this.
Okay. So I have this question from Resty, addressed to both our speakers. So another concern is why Alberta insurance companies raised the premiums almost 20% for home, commercials, and automobiles policies.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're that I know they're looking at right now, and I can follow up with more information on that. I know that there's been some changes and some reviews that's being done under that program under the Ministry of Finance, and I believe I think Service Alberta might be involved in that as well. Let me get back to you on that one with more information. I don't have the answer off the tip of my tongue, but I'll follow up with you guys on that.
Thank you. Tim, would you like to make a comment?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, insurance is regulated by the provinces, and I know the provincial government is looking into that. And hi, Rusty, thanks for that question.
Thank you. So we have another question. Business property borrowers who missed payment of the regular loan amortization from lending institution have been considered in default of their loan. The lender can or will call on the loan to be paid in full or face foreclosure. At this time of crisis, the property value is at the lowest due to income uncertainty. These lenders' legal documents are all ready at any time to enforce, take over the properties. Any instructions from the government to give grace period to hold off legal actions?
Yeah, so I'll start with that. There isn't right now, and this is a problem. So I've had several hotel owners discuss with me that their loans, they're not even in default. They've never missed a payment, but their loans are up, so they need to be renewed. And lending institutions, they're looking at it and saying, well, you don't have any revenue now. You're 90% down on your revenue, so we're not going to renew your loan. And that's several $1 million. There's no way they can cover that. So this is a real problem. As of right now, the government hasn't looked at this, or maybe they're looking at it, but they haven't made any type of announcement on this. We've raised this with the government in trying to see if there's something that can be done. But it's very difficult for the government, or it's not even right for the government to go in and tell the banks what to do, especially with their own financing, to say, hey, you guys should take a hit on this. So as of right now, nothing that hasn't happened. And there isn't a program in there to help these loans as well.
And Marjorie, if I could just chime in, we don't have as much influence over the national banks, but we have asked ATB to provide some leniency.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Thank you very much. So we have a question here from Lynn and Dan Burdett, but I'm just not sure what about if you don't have employee, like it's only husband and wife running the business. So can we unmute Lynn to clarify or expound on the question? Lynn and Dan, please. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just asking that question because we don't have an employee and we are not qualified for that for the 40 or 20,000 loan that they offer.
Okay. So the
Yeah,
question is, what would be your options? So you don't have
yeah.
an employee, the business is run by the couple, and you don't meet the requirements to apply for the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, and you also don't meet for the 40,000 loan, right? Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be great if they qualified for the $40,000 loan, but so if you don't have any employees, but you do have these things that have just been recently announced. So if you are a business that was actually in operation previously, so you know, as long as you're not a new business, if you're in operation 2018, because if you filed 2018 taxes, then you and if you had rent payments or property tax payments or utility payments, at least $40,000 worth, you actually will qualify for that $40,000 loan, of which $10,000 can be forgiven. So this is brand new. It's only about 3 or 4 days ago that they made this new announcement, and the new application process for that hasn't even been released yet. But my understanding it's coming soon. So that should be able to, you know, from what I understood, when I could hear from you, you should be able to be qualified for that part of it.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question here from Tom Tamayo. He's my guest. What is the contingency or trade opportunities that Alberta could offer if oil and gas may take time to keep rolling, that we could make our business transition decisions? I think this is for Minister Fair.
Sure, you bet. So right now, and actually even before COVID, we were working on an investment and growth strategy, which will now be that much more important as our economy recovers post-COVID. And, you know, we've always said that our government, we often get criticized that all we care about is oil and gas, and that's just not true. Of course we care about oil and gas. We're proud of our oil and gas industry, and we've got fantastic members of parliament like Tim fighting for us in Ottawa. But we're an and government. We're not an or government. We don't believe it has to be energy or the environment, energy or technology. It can be energy and. And the investment and growth strategy is going to focus on energy, agriculture, tourism, and then enabling sectors like tech, data, telecom, aerospace and aviation, financial services. We are focused on diversifying our economy, and we're going to be standing up an investment agency that's going to be focused on not only our trade offices, which is important, but also attracting more investment to Alberta. And we know that this is going to be critical in the relaunch, and trade will be a big part of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Very well said. Thank you. Next question. Again for you, Minister Fair, when will provincial government employees return to work in offices? This is a key driver for our economic recovery, especially in the downtown area government office.
Minister, it's Michelle. Do you want me to jump in on this one?
Please do. Please. Thanks, Michelle.
I would like to point out I'm in the office. So we are actually having those conversations right now about when we're going to have staff returning to work. And I would tell you that we're very happy for many of our staff who've been safely able to work from home, but these are live conversations right now, and they're ongoing. So some of us have been coming into the office quite regularly, you know, we've got a few of our opportunities open now that we can get some food again. So it's really fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much for that confirmation, Michelle. Thank you. So again, follow-up question. In the property taxes and commercial property, I really love this Palaypay desktop. Very proactive. I love your questions. Go for it. In the property taxes and commercial property, the property tax was deferred, but all the total cumulative deferrals has to be paid by August 31st. Is there no plans to reduce the property taxes, or would you provide a payment plan?
Well, I suppose that would be a municipal issue. So, you know, for the city of Edmonton, I was actually on a call with the mayor, and even just the deferring of all the taxes for, you know, business taxes and also municipality for residential taxes has caused the city to have a significant budget issue. And then I don't know right now if there's going to be any plans to reduce taxes. I haven't heard anything, so I don't think that's the plan. There may be more programs to help people pay those, and maybe, like you said, a payment program might be something that people might be something that I think could help people to be able to make those payments. Maybe that's probably one of the best solutions for that.
Okay. To Minister Fair, when when do you think will be the stage 2 for Alberta's relaunch strategy?
Yeah.
Any
So
timeline? Will be a month, 2 months?
yeah.
I don't know.
So
It's hard to guess.
I know, and you know what, Marjorie, let me answer that question just personally from the heart first. I'm the Minister of Economic Development, Trade and Tourism. I want everything to be open. I want all of our businesses to be back at work. I want Albertans to do what Albertans do best, which is entrepreneurial, hard work, get out there, do business. This has been really hard, but we know that what we're dealing with here is, and I know we've all heard this word 1,000 times, but it's unprecedented. We've never dealt with something like this before. And the risk and the fear with opening things up too quickly is if we get another surge in infections and hospitalizations, that we then have to pull back and close down everything all over again and make it worse. And there's businesses that are already fearful that they may not be able to survive the reopening, never mind if they have to reopen and then close again. So I want nothing more but to be able to give you a specific answer to that question. But all I can say is phase 2 reopening will be dependent on providing that we see numbers of infections staying down, numbers of hospitalizations staying down, intensive care unit numbers staying down. So far, Albertans have done a great job of adhering to safety guidelines. That's why we were able to open up stage 1. The only reason Brooks and Calgary had a bit of a delay were because we had some hot spots there of infections. But look at the great job that Albertans and Edmontons and Calgarians and every 4 corner of the province have done, that so far, like we stage 1 was introduced and we haven't seen a spike in infections. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we keep that up, and stage 2 will hopefully be not too long. And I'm sorry I can't give an exact date.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's being honest. Thank you. We still have lots of questions, but it's already 6:58 p.m. So I'm going to take this last question. I'm sorry, guys. I know you still have, but what we can do, if you still have questions, I would be happy to email them to Minister Fair's office and also to Honorable Tim Opal's office, because I won't be able to read all your questions right here. I'm very sorry for that. So a question from Tita Loida Lumanlan, a real estate agent. Will provincial government employees working downtown be given subsidized parking so that they can drive and avoid public transit until it is safe to do so?
So that's something, again, and that's a good, to the point of getting feedback from you guys as well. I'm not sure if that's something it's not something we're doing right now, I don't believe, but let me take that back with Michelle with respect to the feedback that we're getting. And that's something we can look at, but no promises.
Yeah, and I would say, Minister, that I highly suspect the answer to that one will be no, but I'll put it into the Public Service Commission as a question that many have.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's 6:59 p.m. So I'm gonna give this back to Glenn for the closing remarks. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Fair. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much to all those who joined us tonight. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Marjorie. That was a very engaging. I wish we have more time, right? But of course, most people are still in their businesses. I'm still at the office as well. But for this last part, I would like to ask our president, our fearless leader, Bayani Alcantara. So you hold the distinction of being our president for PBSA at the time of pandemic. And they said that everything rises and falls on leadership. And we are fortunate to have you here. I would like also to recognize that we have one guest here, Lynn, and Don Burdette. They're actually our contact in High River. So they were severely affected by the pandemic there. And through our collaboration, we're able to donate and bring hope to the community through the grocery giving. And people actually risk their lives just to go there. But, it was, I think, a blessing that, as a community, we're able to do that. So please help me welcome our president, Bayani Alcantara.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you for this wonderful time. I'd like to take the opportunity for Minister Honorable Tim Upal and Honorable Tanya Fier, and also for Michelle Evans. Thank you for those inputs that you have today, because it's very critical right now for small businesses, especially on Monday. That's where the CECRA, right? There's lots of questions involving those small businesses, and hopefully the information that you gave us, we can disseminate it to our members and to all the entrepreneurs here in Edmonton and surrounding areas. I'd like to also thank you for the guests that we have today, the members and the non-members too, and make sure that PBA is doing its part during this COVID-19 times, right? We have some projects already done, and we're still doing more proactive and programs for our community and for our fellow entrepreneurs here. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.
Thank you. Bye. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend, everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah.